Guys, are you applying to college and wondering if the SAT and ACT essay sections are really optional at top schools? If so, in this video, I'm going to talk about the recent changes to ACT and SAT essay policy at a lot of top schools, and whether you should be taking the SAT with essay or ACT with essay if you're going to apply to top schools. If you're wondering who I am, my name is Brooke. I've been tutoring and teaching the SAT and the ACT for over a decade. I have an online course for the SAT and the ACT called the Best ACT Prep Course Ever and the Best SAT Prep Course Ever. I've scored perfectly on both exams as an adult. I've coached students to perfect or near perfect scores on both exams. So you should definitely go check that out, SupertutorTV.com. If you haven't already, subscribe to our channel and follow us on social media. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. So go find me at SupertutorTV. Also, subscribe to our mailing list. It's totally free. SupertutorTV.com/subscribe will keep you in the know of all our new videos. If there's any SAT deadlines, little reminders we want to send you, we will do that. And we'll try to give you in your inbox what you need to know about college admissions, test prep, all that good stuff. So subscribe. Let's get started with this video. If you don't know already, basically what's happened in 2018, a lot of top schools just started dropping the requirement that you must take the SAT or ACT essay because they figured out that a lot of schools are giving the SAT and ACT to the whole school for free. But a lot of those free full school administrations don't include the essay portion. So what was happening is kids at these schools who might not have a lot of money were having to go and spend money out of their pocket, $50 to go take the test again after they already sat for it at their high school. And that was discouraging students from applying to their universities. So these top universities said, you know what, that's preferring the wealthy. We want to take away that stipulation so that we're more fair and equitable to everyone out there. So no more required essay. But many of them, even though they've announced that it's not required, are still totally using the essay as a piece of the admissions portfolio, especially if you're not from a financially disadvantaged background. So I'm going to get into, in this video, where you probably still need it or want it if you're applying and you want to get that application edge. What I'm going to do is I'm going to have like several lists of top 20 schools. What I did is I'm focusing on top 20 schools. The reason I'm focusing on top 20 schools is after you get past about the top 20, 30 schools, not very many schools actually require the SAT or ACT essay. In fact, now that all these top schools have done away with it, fewer and fewer schools are even requiring it. So you're going to have to look up policies for whatever individual schools you're applying to, as always. I will also put a disclaimer that this is accurate to my best knowledge as of the date of filming, which is summer of 2019. These policies can change rapidly at any minute. Schools can announce changes in a week, in a month, the day that their application drops. So all of this is subject to change. Make sure you always double check. There's also a lot of bad information out on the internet because a lot of these policies are totally new. In 2018, a lot of schools started to change stuff. So if you go and look at other random blog posts on the internet, those blog posts may be totally wrong. So always try to get your information straight from your school right as you're applying to make sure that you do everything you need. But this is as accurate as I could find. If you find any corrections, please let us know. And if we do find any corrections, we will try to pin them under this video. In our blog post, we will try to, over time, add more to these lists. This is what we've got for now, but we're going to try to add more in. So if you want more detail, check out the blog post that goes with this video. There's a link in the description. So go check out our blog. So let's first talk about schools where I don't actually think they're even looking at the thing. Cornell, Carnegie Mellon, NYU, Rice, University of Michigan, UNC, Chapel Hill, Notre Dame, USC, Stanford, Caltech, MIT. Okay, maybe top 25. So of these, some heavy hitters: Stanford, Caltech, MIT, big heavy hitters, top 10 schools that have basically said, we don't care at all about your essay score on the SAT or ACT. Phew. That's a relief, isn't it? Isn't that awesome? It's great. So those schools, I wouldn't worry at all, okay? Now I'm gonna get into like a few schools where they say there's basically no college policy, meaning they don't mention it at all. That's Northwestern, Tufts, which says, quote, it will not increase your chances if you include your test score. They really kind of are like, it's not gonna increase your chances. You won't have a better chance of getting in if you put it in. Emory, Vanderbilt, really didn't talk about it at all, so it's kind of hard to tell if they have any policy, but they said they have no policy. They've checked no boxes besides no college policy. And then University of Chicago has said it's, quote, not essential. Even if you submit it, it's not going to be an essential part. They might look at it a little bit, but it's not going to be the biggest part of your application. They're not like sweating over your SAT essay score. So these places maybe doesn't matter as much. Columbia, WashU, and Johns Hopkins. So these three are optional, and I really couldn't find a lot of information on exactly how they're using it. They don't really say. Their common data sets are totally empty. They basically have checked no boxes. They're withholding information. So I have no idea what's going on at Columbia, WashU, and Johns Hopkins. Those are, again, kind of these in between. They say that it's optional. They say that they're accepting it, but we really don't know what they're doing with it. So again, they're kind of like Tufts and Emory and Vanderbilt, where we don't really know what's going on. But in this group in general, I do know that they're accepting it. And there's slight differences between the way that they are delineating this, because they don't say no college policy here. So I feel like that's even more likely that they're actually using it, because they just aren't telling you anything. They're just being opaque. If those are the only schools you're applying to, those down here and all of these up here, you can probably get away with not taking the SAT essay at all, no matter who you are. Now, what I will say is there's this movement in some colleges like Princeton, which is going to be on our next list, to actually move away from using the SAT essay as a validation of your ability to write, to having a paper that you write in school be a validation of the way that you write. So that has become kind of the new wave that some of these top schools are requiring. So make sure you're on your toes, make sure you read all of the requirements that you're required to send in. We might see more of that kind of requirement coming up in the future, or not all of these schools have adapted to that kind of a requirement as an alternative to test your writing. Now let's talk about schools where it's actually still going to matter, because there are a lot of top schools that have said it's quote optional, but it's still going to matter if you're from a background where everybody else is submitting the thing, okay? Because you're compared typically to people who are in the same socioeconomic class, who have similar backgrounds, like as much as possible, as much as schools can figure that out. And obviously they can't figure everything out. So we've got Harvard essay optional, but check this out, totally used for admission, used for placement, used for advising, lots of stuff it's used for. Amherst essay recommended, that means they kind of want you to take it, right? Brown is essay optional, and they say used for advising. Is it possible that they use it for other things? Maybe. So I guess Brown is kind of on the, maybe more on the borderline, maybe it's further up on that other list a little bit. Yale, no college policy, essay optional. So Yale's being a little bit dodgy about it. We really don't know what's going on, but this is the other thing. On their page, they say you should self-report if completed, so they want to see it. If you do it, they want to see it. And even if you're just self-reporting your scores, they want to know your essay score. So that tells me that they're probably using it, even though they have this no college policy. That might be that they use it however the heck they want. We don't really know what that means. Princeton, check this out, used for admission, used for advising. Definitely Harvard, Princeton, you see those too. Boom, used for admission. Guys, they're still using this thing. And again, Princeton is that school, like I talked about, that's having you guys submit school papers as well to validate like your application essays to make sure you're the person writing those. And again, Princeton, it was over this financial concern stuff. That's explicitly what they say in their documentation. So if you understand that, if you guys, if it's hard for you and you don't have the money to retake the SAT, don't worry about it. You're the exact people who this policy is for. Don't worry about it. That's for you. It's totally all about giving you more access, and that's awesome. UPenn, totally still using it. Dartmouth, using it. Duke, using it. This column right here, this is used for admission, people. Used for admission. Another column that I want to point out to you guys is this validity check of the application essay. If you get too much help on your application essay, or your cousin writes it, or your mom writes it for you, that will get you into trouble at these schools, you guys. Princeton, UPenn, Duke. I mean, it should get you into trouble at every school, but you know, you should be writing your own essays. And it should sound like you. It should sound like your voice. Should you have people proofread it? Absolutely, because you don't want silly grammar errors. You don't want things to not make sense. You want to tell a good story. You want to be the best version of yourself, but you want it to be you. So just be careful, guys. Okay, last of all, there is one group of schools in the top 25 ranked schools that definitely requires you to still take the essay, and that's the UC system. All of the University of California system requires you to take the SAT or ACT essay. Those are literally UC Berkeley, UCLA. Those are the only ones where you absolutely need it right now, but you do absolutely need it. So they are the holdouts at this point. They are also the system, or this is also the system that began the whole movement to create an SAT essay. The UC system is what instigated having an essay on the SAT in the first place. There used to be no essay on the SAT. And then the UC system complained and said all these kids are getting great SAT scores, and they show up and they can't speak English and they can't write papers. And our freshman year professors are complaining about our international students. And that's why they brought this in. The other caveat that I'm going to add to the end of this video is if you're an international student, the rules might change for you. So occasionally international students are required to do things that aren't the general requirements. So always make sure if you're applying internationally that you check out the international student policies. In those cases, they might require the essay even though domestic students aren't required to have them. And I think I've covered everything. Hopefully you found this a little bit helpful, at least in terms of pulling apart some schools that aren't using this essay at all that are really competitive. So if you're reach schools, you know, you don't want to take the SAT essay, you're trying to avoid it. And also picking apart sort of the policy here where making it optional doesn't actually mean you don't need it. If you're in a competitive environment, if you feel like all your friends are taking it, you probably need to take it too to compete with them. So that's just something to remember for kind of these schools up here. And then there's schools that we really don't know what's going on, but they say it's optional, but is it how optional? Is it gonna help you? We don't really know. Columbia, WashU, Johns Hopkins, I don't know what they're doing. They might not even know what they're doing yet. So there you go. I hope you guys like this video. If so, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. Check out more of our videos, and I will see you guys next time on Super Tutor TV. Thanks for watching.